Bom dia, pessoal. Bem-vindo a mais um dia do Semcomp. Meu nome é Ana Laura e eu vou ser mediadora dessa palestra. A palestra de hoje é Storytelling com dados na Disney e a palestra foi gravada para ser legendada. Mas ao fim dela, a Camila Manera, que é a palestrante, vai aparecer aqui ao vivo para responder algumas perguntas. Então, lembre-se que vocês podem mandar perguntas a qualquer momento no chat, em inglês ou português, para ela depois. Espero que vocês gostem da palestra. E é isso.
Hi everyone, how are you? Hope you're all having an excellent day. I am very honored to be here in the summit with all of you. To start, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Camila Manera. I am 27 years old and I am from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I am working at Disney Latin America for 6 years. My professional profile is what I like to call really strange. I love design, creativity, and also numbers. It's also something like the best of the both worlds of creativity and also the hard side of numbers. My career has started as a graphic designer, later as a website programmer, user experience, up to reaching machine learning and artificial intelligence. I don't believe myself as a talented person in any of these matters, but I have to highlight something is my curious and passion. There is nothing better than a curious and motivated person in your work. I have the honor and the good luck to say that I love my work, and that definitely makes me better in my job because everything I do is with motivations. I also dream to work for Disney. Really, I admire the company and also our creator, Walt Disney. I think that one of the best phrases of Walt is that if you can dream it, you can do it. And I always see the life in that way. If there is something that characterizes me, it's my devotion to help others. I love finding problem with solution. My brain works that way. Anyone um, that comes to tell me something that happened to him, I am automatically program my brain to start thinking about my action plan to get that person a solution. Day and night, in free time, I become a magnet to absorb everything around me and find the best solution to its problem. It is a feature that I always like about me, and when I found the match, the satisfaction I felt is priceless. It is a relief to my soul. My happiness is built when I see happiness in the others. Many years I wonder or try to understand the real meaning of life. Something in my way of thinking that's not allowed me to be here in this life without a meaning. That's why and was never a possibility in my life. I needed to find a meaning, a reason, even if it's to leave a mark on 5 or 1 people, but teaching something. That's why I felt very honored to be here. I understood that I am a very lucky person to find the meaning of life in a short time, to understand that why, for what, and how. It is not a small thing to understand that why. And having those answers, I knew that it would give me even more credibility to understand how my puzzle would look like at the end of the road. If I help people convert the anguish in opportunity, my task is accomplished. I am not denying the pain, or on the contrary, I accept it and give it a space to later eject it. If you do not accept it, you will never be able to kick it out. We cannot eject anyone who does not consider it expellable. The place must be given, however distressing it might be, but convert a really bad moment in opportunity in the future, and what learning will I get from this experience? That's the key to eternal happiness. You manage to live and live your life without any fear. So, leaving behind my personal experience and some background of myself, I'm going to start talking about storytelling data. In reality, images have the ability to communicate more information in a more efficient way. In fact, visual content is processed 60,000 times faster than text and generates around 94% more views. Also, our brain retains 80% of what we see and just 20% of what we read and 10% of what we hear. In other words, we were biologically designed to react to visual stimulation and communicate through them. That's why images or videos often attract our attention rather than the long text. We don't want to show data, we want to tell stories with it. Translating data analysis into layman's terms in order to influence a business decision or action. It is a mission critical skill. We can run a brilliant analysis on our data, but if we can't explain our results, we aren't definite at all, adding any value to any company. We heard a lot of times the phrase unlock the power of data, but what do you think it really is? If you want, you can write down what do you think about this term, and after the talk, we can brainstorm some of your ideas and understand how that changed after and before the talk. The most interesting part about data is that the data tells you interesting things you didn't know that they were there. You take a surprise, perhaps, or not. Data gives you the ability to break preconcepts. The interesting thing about the data is that you come with the preconcept of an idea and the data can show you something else. It gives you also the courage. When data gives you courage to use something we thought that was very difficult. Data beats experience, not. It's not possible. There is nothing better than adding value. We do not want to eradicate the experience. We want to add data plus experience that really beats everything. Correlation versus causality. There is something very curious example that is widely used to exemplify this problem because I think it's the most like extremistic case, but I am going to show you a little video.
If you look at the stats alone, eating ice cream and murders in New York are positively correlated. This means that the more ice cream sold per person, the number of murders increases. Vanilla bean never seems so scary, right? Before you stop eating ice cream sundaes to save innocent lives, think about it. Correlation as a statistic doesn't explain how or why the relationship between ice cream and murder exists. It simply shows that it does. Causation makes an even bolder assumption and says that a change in the number of chocolate cones sold will cause a change in the number of people who meet their unfortunate end. This is clearly a big leap. A well-designed experiment will rule out other factors that could be related. So you must ask yourself, what's another variable at play? It turns out that temperature was also correlated with both ice cream sales and murders because the numbers for both spike during the summer months. When it's warm outside, people simply get out of the house more. They're on summer break or vacation and want a cold, delicious treat. Kids hang out unsupervised more. It just so happens that the Freddy Kruegers of the world also get out more during the summer. Before you jump to a cause and effect relationship when a correlation is found, look at how the data was collected and consider other related factors. And go ahead, eat that pint of Rocky Road.
So according to data, eating ice cream and murder in New York City has a correlation. This means that the more ice creams are sold, the more murders occurs in the streets. If we see the data, the correlation exists, but if we start to analyze what is behind that numbers, we began to find many alternatives that explain it. Like when people eat more ice cream, it is hot, people go out more, and there are vacations and much more content. One of the most important things is having the right question. It's common that people want to have data, but they don't know what answer of business they need to solve. It might happen, if not, that you could have the right answer to the wrong question. Having the correct question is 90% of the value. Also break down with confirmation bias. This would really help to understand and break up with bias of confirmation that most of the people have regarding different topics. Also, another very important fact is the time. Faster access to data gives you stronger analytics capabilities to work with it. You all know the annual reports that Google launches according to the search metrics for each country. In this case, I choose Argentina, Mexico, and Brazil. You can, we can make like a quick game, and you could like determine which of the 3 rows are for which country. I think it's quite easy, but you can play with that. This helps us understand the behaviors of the audiences and emphasis or not preconcepts of behavior. In the case of Argentina, we can highlight that everything related to the universe of mystery, enigma, and curiosity undoubtedly stood out not only in 2019 report, but after year and year. They are the ones who lead the searches and generates a lot of interest in the audiences. We could say that both football and interest in Pixar in the case of Toy Story and the universe of superheroes is a pattern cross-region that equals us and we share as a region. It is very clear what we share and what are the particularities and localisms for each of its countries. And continue with the concept that it's not just having the data, but it's knowing how to use it. This example of the Spotify campaign using consumption data for different moments that each country was experiencing and highlighting it with searches within its platform. They always have the data, but they find the best moments to release it, or they just knew what they wanted to highlight and find the best fits for it. According to a study, it is estimated that people generate 1.7 megabytes of data per second. The data we generate placed in a certain context tells who the people are, their habits, their preferences, their tastes, well, all their history. Therefore, as the first step in a database project, we must ask ourselves, what story do we want to tell? Give context and objective. When designing a data visualization, we must determine a specific context. To get closer, we can start with some important questions such as, who is my audience? What is their experience? What language should I use with the users? Some of these questions will begin to place us in context and begin our visualization design. Once we are on track, we have to aim to respond. What is the goal of the story I'm going to tell? Determining an objective or objectives is the key to going specifically with the data visualization that users need and a graphic that shows a pile of data grouped on the screen. If our visualization does not have determined objective, we are not telling a story, but we are only showing a history. We are not adding value to the display. Therefore, we are just not focusing on our user needs. A set of data and information that tells a story are not the same. It is up to us to turn the first into the second. It is necessary to focus so much on whether the audience needs a tool that allows them to explore a dataset, what takes time to effort, a very broad user flow that will branch out, a test that involves a large number of tasks, among other consequences. Or, on the other hand, if the user needs a data visualization that tells a specific story, explains a problem or an hypothesis, the last designed goal also involves a lot of effort. Probably more people should be involved in the design process, in adding to user people such as experts in analytics, data science, among others that apply to the context and history of our data. But in any case, it will be a matter of studying our possibilities and limitations as product designers to try best satisfy the user of the needs. When you are appreciating a storytelling data product, you must have small checklist with different interesting terms. First of all, defining a purpose. Having a clear purpose, objective, and priorities of the report to achieve a more useful results and within wasting time on visuals that are insignificant. It will help us to ask ourselves what is the question that users will answer when consulting this report. Think always about the user. It's our main goal. We will obtain better interpretation and understanding results if we know who they are, what they're looking for, why, what for, and how familiar they are with the data. Identify that data. Inquire about the type of data you're working with to define the best way to represent it and avoid misinterpretation or frustration for the users. Narrative flow, messages, and hierarchies. The use of annotations in a visualization will help us to create a narrative flow in which a clear visual hierarchy we can guide to read step by step through the data. And last but not least, data selection, allowing the user knowledge and goals to dictate what and how much data should be included and selecting the data to tell the story we want to tell. To continue with part of this process, I'm going to also pass through 5 very interesting data storytelling tips for visual brain. Now that we have a peek of the science behind the way we perceive objects, let's look at how this knowledge translates into practical tips for creating effective and persuasive data visualizations. This came from the guide Good Charts by Harvard Business Review. I really highly recommend all information that came up from this blog because it's really interesting and they have like several topics and very interesting information. First of all, our eyes don't follow a specific order. Creating effective data visualizations require learning a new language with new grammar rules. The first difference between reading a page with text and reading a chart or graph is what the first you read in order from left to right, from top to bottom, in Western culture, of course. With the second, there is no predetermined order, you simply go where your eyes takes you. The pace is also different. Instead of reading line by line, you jump from one thing to another and spend longer amounts of time in some parts than others. This means that it's specifically challenging to create effective visualizations that delivery takes viewer on a predefined visual journey. The first thing that stands out in this graphic is the peak at the far right. The central message of the visual is crystal clear. The US incarceration rate has increased exponentially since 1970s. The best data storytellers take advantage of this principally by creating charts and graphs with one clear message that can effortlessly understood. I'm sorry. Our eyes can handle a few things at once. Whether you have a graph or chart with more than 5 to 10 variables, the individual units start to lose their individuality and are perceived by our eyes as a single whole. With this in mind, you should simplify your charts so that they highlight one main point you want to make. Take, for example, this chart. The first thing you notice are the peak in the middle, the green line, and the word outage. In the objective to convey a clear message through a declarative chart, then you will see that there's no clear message here. Let's say, for example, that you want to release that the performance ratings continue to decline even after the outage. Then the viewer has to work hard to find this trend, and the peak in the background distracts from the green line. The best solution in this case is to eliminate the number of customer service calls data and focus on customer service ratings before and after the outage. We try to find meaning in the data. Another important fact is that our brains are designed to immediately look for connections and try to find the meaning in the data. If you look at this chart, you will find that your brain unconsciously makes the connection between the orange in the middle and the orange color dots. This must mean that the orange dots represents the top performance. Our visual brain concludes, wrong. Actually, the top performance are those plotted to the top right of the chart and have nothing to do with the selection of colors. Knowing this, we must make smart decisions and assign color deliberately to improve the functionality of any of our visuals. We are guided by cultural conventions. There are certain conventions that we take from granted. For example, in Western culture, we all intuitively know that when visualization time, it moves from left to right, not right to left, or that blue means cold and red means hot. The same goes with visual metaphors. We all associate a pyramid with hierarchy on a small or a scale with a comparison of two things. If you ignore this convention, then it goes without saying that your visuals will be hard or describe. You just have to look at this chart and how hard it is to extract meaning from it when it's placed on the y-axis rather than the x-axis. So to finish like the first part of the talk and the conversation that we have today, I ask you first to write down what do you think about storytelling data, and it would be great if you can like now highlight some terms that you like about what we have talked, and we can discuss a little bit about that. But also I want to first take some minutes to talk about how we applied storytelling data in Disney. What we have as a main problem, it's not a problem, it's a good problem. It's that we are like for my opinion, we are one of the best in telling stories and making experience. So we have like a really challenging work in order to pass all that experience and all that storytelling to how we work internally and how we use our data in order to tell stories. So we are in that process. We are working very hard in that part because it is not very easy to pass all that experience that we have in our studies, in our parks, and in our movies or live events that we create in order to have that experience and work with that knowledge for internally, specifically in how we use data. So we are working very hard in that part. I think like it's great to not only like create stories for our clients and our different consumers, but also for our employees. So we are working also very closely with this term in order to pass the Disney experience, not only when we see a movie or we are in a park, but also as an employee of the company. So that's a very challenging job and something very curious that we are doing now. We are working very hard in that part. I really believe that making data with stories requires a lot of analysis and a lot of work. Perhaps it's very difficult to try to do it in every aspect, but you have to determine it and define where are the best goals and very best parts where you can do that. So I would like a lot to talk with you, and that you can also make me question not only about data and storytelling, but also if you want about how it's working in Disney and how it's my experience. I am a huge fan of the company and I am really passionate about what I do in work, as I told you in the first of the call. But I have no doubt that you would have a lot of questions and you would want to know a lot of things. So it would be great if we start discussing that points. And I thank you again for inviting me here in this conversation, and I am very glad to be here with you, and I hope you enjoy and like my talk. And thank you very much again.
Bem, espero que vocês tenham gostado da palestra. Agora nós vamos fazer algumas perguntas para a Camila, e essa parte vai ser em inglês, mas a gente vai legendar e deixar no YouTube. This is Camila. Hi, Camila.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Hope you like my talk from today, and you are all having a great day.
We have some questions for you that people left in the comments. The first question is, how's the process of analyzing and choosing data to create storytelling in the designs?
Okay, that's a very good and difficult question. The first thing that I recommend in order to understand, analyze the data, and also do the correct bounding between data and storytelling is first defining what is like the principal data you want to like take to the front, in order to be that one, the one you are gonna to emphasize, and also that's the parts that came through in order to start analyzing in which story you can fit in. For example, now we're working a lot with women's empowerment, and when we want to like carry on a data upon this task specifically, we try to do the match with, for example, Captain Marvel, because it's a very good example of a character with woman empowerment, and also because we have like a high percentage in awareness between people and the character. So there are the lining points when we start to work and say, okay, we want to carry on this message or give this, for example, we want to highlight this data, and we start thinking which of our all stories that we have have like the advantage that we have a lot of stories. So it's easy in a point for us to start connecting between what we want to highlight and what story is the best to fit. So that's how we work in the company regarding principal data and also the stories that we have.
Okay, that was very interesting. The next question is, did you start working with data at Disney, or have you had another experience before?
Yes, my first experience with data was in Disney. I started as a consumer products member team for the company, and since the day one, I start like seeing the big problem that we have as a company regarding data, that we were not like making correct workflows and all the processes that we were doing. So that's when I start thinking about how we can take the advantages of data for the business. And my first experience was completely in Disney, as working and as with data also.
Okay. Can you give examples of the importance of storytelling for communication through data?
Yes. First of all, if I had to highlight something, is user experience. I think like it's great to start thinking about the user and how not only data but also design and creativity can work and make a milkshake with all this information and give a correct storytelling. I think like the three pillars, not only technology but also designing, user experience, and having creativity, is like the best mixed in order to start working with storytelling and data.
Okay. The next question is, do you have a process or a method for storytelling, or is it usually fluid and things happen without a proper order?
Also a very good question. We have like a very like a just process with storytelling and data. First, we have the part we call it like technology part, where when we have like the first step where we make all data ingestion, and that's like stage 1. And after the data ingestion, we go through the part of data modeling and data standardization, where we like all the data we have bring to our environment, we start like cleaning it up in order to have a clear structure and a clear data process. And after we have the data standardized, we go through the part of analysis and visualizations. So there we start like seeing, okay, I have this tendency here, I have this number that is increasing or decreasing, and we start like seeing a little bit clarify the visual of the data. And after that, when we have the insights and the numbers, we pass through the part of the designing process, where we start like making this match that I told you before, where we find the insight with the story that we have, and we make the match there. But it's like a very long process that has a lot of stages.
Okay. What are the opportunities and teams at Disney related to a data analyst profile?
Yes, we have now really expand a lot in these specific teams and profiles. After the team that I am working in, it's called data strategy, and the team has around 1 year of birth. So this way of thinking of Disney and data is really new. So our team started with 2 people, and now we are like 12 people, and it's really increasing a lot. And also we have like a lot of profiles that are also jumping in regarding new line of business that business is working with, and it's also increasing a lot. So I am very like surprised, not surprised, but we really believe that was something that was happening, but we are like really increasing a lot by number. And the main like profiles, if we have to like categorize them, we have the part of the data engineering, that's one of the process and the profiles that we have for the team. And also then we have a very large team of data science. So that's our 2 main like profiles that we have now for the company, and really we are like making the team bigger month by month, because we need like a lot of help, and that's really great.
Okay. How do you generate most of your data, and how do you check its reliability?
Perfect. Yes. It's we have a lot of data sources and sources that we trust, and we work as a partners. So when we acquire, for example, one data source, we make a pact with the vendor or the partner that we have, and we start like relying in their trust and in the type of data that they give us. And after that, what we start to do is a lot of data governance and data checks in order to start, after we make all this process, making some like audits and understanding if the data that we have, most of them, it's okay and clarify. But it's like it's a very complex process, because as we have a lot of data, it's it's very difficult to be in every number and in every aspect, but we try to have this type of audits in order to understand all the data that we give to other teams and users. It's okay and has a reliability, and the people can trust in that.
Next question is, does storytelling with data work involve the stories we have at Disney parks?
Yes, we are working a lot with that part, because we as a company really we think like the best user experience that we have are in the parks. So every time we want to like bring people to there, because we as a region don't have parks very close. You in Brazil, you have it a little closer than us, but it's like something very aspirational for us. So we try to work a lot with storytelling regarding parks, and we think like also it's a model to follow up, because they are the best for telling stories and working with the user experience.
Okay. How do you feel about the use of data storytelling in the gamified educational systems? Could it improve the students' experiences?
Yes, definitely. I think like the main problem that most of the industries have is like they not always put the user in the middle, in the center. So perhaps they act with their personal needs or where they want to carry on the business. But that is something that we work very closely to every line of business that we have, in order to put always the consumer in the middle, in the center of the attention, and work regarding their needs, and make products that they really love.
Okay. The next question is it common for analysis based on data to affect, for example, the script of a movie or production? To what extent do you think this influence can affect the creative freedom of the artists involved?
Oh, I really like this question. I think like not only in Disney, but in most of industries, we have like this type of analysis or information that it's very valuable, because now with all the data that we have, and also artificial intelligence as a technology and process, gave us the capability to analyze a lot of data and have insights regarding what we think like for a movie would be like the best star, the best content, or the best situation, place, and also actors. So that is information that we have and we count on as every industry in the business. But I believe, or I think that our primary objective is to don't break down with creativity, and also like make this as a multiplication, but not as a if we have this, we don't have this. So it gives us tools and information, but it's not something that we think it could be replaceable, because our creativity and innovation, it's something that we are not going to change in the short or long term.
How is the process of creation of artists based on data?
That is something very like complex, and it requires, and it depends a lot in the different studies that we have, because for example, Disney works with some in some way, Marvel as another, Lucasfilms as another. That is something I think it's very interesting, because each of them has its own like processes and information. But most of the creativity leaders and staff, they receive information, and they also make a lot of benchmarking. I think one of the best things I really like about Pixar, for example, is that they travel to the places where they are making a movie, for example, and they make like a lot of research, but not only regarding data, but also with experience. They experience themselves, although perhaps if we were making, for example, when they create Coco, they have a lot of information regarding Mexico, but they travel to Mexico and they live the experience. So I think they are like the best example with the mix of information and data, but also like living the experience in order to tell stories.
Okay, that's very interesting. And the last question is, how was the process to join Disney? Where did you find the job opportunity?
Yes, I was, as I told you in my talk, I was, since I was little, a very Disney fan. And since day one, I started college, I started like reaching out the webpage of Disney Career that I recommend us all of you to jump in and start seeing the job opportunities there. I start searching a lot all the month. I enter the website and see what opportunities there were there, and I saw one opportunity that was very like a very good fit with my profile, but they require a profile that was already has a degree in the field. But I take the chance and I send my resume, and I have like my first phone call saying, okay, we like your profile, but we are looking for a already a degree level and profile. So I really thought that I would not have any opportunity because of that matter. And I have a first interview, and I was very trust that it would go okay. And later I have some tests regarding my abilities, regarding not just my abilities regarding my knowledge in the field, but also of my speaking language. And afterwards, I received, like, I think 3 months after they take a lot of time answer me back, my phone call saying that I was inside the company. I'm very happy about that.
We received one more question. So, but
yes,
very
of course.
one. What's the best part of working at Disney?
Yes, I think I am very as I told you a lot of times, I'm very Disney fan. I like the experience, but I think one of the most things that I like is one of them, now we are not going to the offices, but here in Buenos Aires we have a very new office. So all the building, it's like having a lot of, we have when you go inside, you have Hulk, you have Iron Man, you have a Mickey, you have Toy Story. So where you enter the office, you feel you're in the parks. So that's one of the best things that I like. And also they have the chance to see a creativity process of the movies. They show us some like advance of the movies, and they tell us what they were working on. So I think like both of them are like the most things that I like for working for Disney.
Okay, those were the questions that we had. So I would like to thank you for participating in our week, and we are very happy to have you here, and we hope you enjoyed it too.
Thank you.
E o pessoal que está assistindo, não se esqueçam de marcar presença no site, e não se esqueçam também que vai ter sorteio de cupom. E é isso, continue acompanhando a Semana da Computação. Tchau, tchau.
Thank you very much for your time and for listening to me. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.